Talking of Kent, by the way, how's things in Dover?
Dreadful.
As post-Brexit customs checks continue to cause disruption, Bodger Johnson's government has been urged to start building more lorry parks near Dover or face traffic gridlock around the port. Desperate drivers caught in 4-hour queues near Dover have been forced to bleep in the bushes and throw bottles of urine out the window.
What?
We got rivers of sewage in our rivers and rivers of sewage on our roads. How's Brexit going, by the way?
Brexit's going great.
Logistics chiefs and local politicians have warned that road congestion in Kent will get worse when further checks come into force in July and September. Or, to put it another way, the Brexit opportunities to step in human poop in a Kent lay-by will get even greater in just a few months.
Oh, fabulous.
The government has asked National Highways to identify new sites for lorries. But ministers have not yet committed to building an extra park, despite a promise by Chancellor Fishy Sunak in the autumn budget to spend £32.5 million on driver facilities. There are simply not enough lorry parking spaces, said Rod Mackenzie, Director of Policy at the Road Haulage Association. The facilities for drivers are inadequate, he said, but as he is an expert in possession of facts, no one was remotely interested in anything he had to say. The RHA, Road Haulage Association official, said there's precious little room in Dover itself, so more infrastructure is needed near the port for checks. There's a real urgency about this problem. It's not something that can be ignored much longer. I know. We'll get that Brexit brain on the case. What do you reckon, Smug?
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
Edwin Atima from the Dutch Hauliers Union, which works across the UK, told The Independent that drivers are increasingly angry about the time spent waiting in queues at Dover since full customs controls came into force in January. They're not upset, they're angry. There's a lot of time not working, just waiting, said Mr. Hang on. That's better. There's a lot of time waiting, not working, said the bloke from the Dutch Hauliers Union. He said drivers are suffering from a lack of proper facilities. They've got to bleep in the bushes, he said. I've been there. You can see it. You can smell it. It's 2022 and this shouldn't be happening. Yeah. Correctamundo, as they say in Holland. We've gone from a country that used to poop in the toilet, now we're pooping in the bushes. We've gone past the Second World War, which was the destination of choice for all of those Captain Mannerings of the Brexit Brigade, and we shot back to an era when we didn't have plumbing, and just threw the contents of the bedpan out the window. Chris Precious is a name I'm not making up. He's an independent councillor on Kent Town Council. He said bottles of urine and plastic bags of human excrement are being thrown into people's gardens and along the A20 roadside by desperate drivers. It's left for residents to clear up, he said. But as those Kent residents overwhelmingly voted to leave the European Union by about 60% to 40%, I have been told about 1,000 times that they knew what they were voting for.
Correct.
It seems odd that people would be voting for bags of poop on their lawns, but I suppose they had their reasons. Look, a dinghy! Calling for a new lorry park near Dover and a bypass for freight traffic, the councillor said, if nothing is done soon, it's going to get worse. We'll have gridlock. It's impossible for the A20 to cope with this. Conservative MP Hugh Merriman, chair of the Transport Select Committee, revealed last month that he accidentally stood in human excrement during a stop at a lay-by on a visit to inspect facilities at Dover. Isn't that sad? Roads Minister Baroness Veer said last month that she had asked National Highways to look at any and all land holdings to see if we can find any new places. This is our future. Identifying beautiful green spots of land to make into a lorry park to deal with all that red tape that we were promised wouldn't exist. In December, ministers hailed the opening of Ashford International Truck Stop. A beautiful facility, about 25 miles away from Dover. Oh, it's tarmac for as far as the eye can see. I can remember when it all used to be fields. Up to 660 drivers can park and use those new facilities. The site sits next to the government's inland border facility, where hauliers are sent for post-Brexit paperwork checks. Is that the same red tape that we were promised there'd be a bonfire of?
Yes.
Just checking. Just checking. Some drivers have been forced to wait for 24 hours for red tape issues to be resolved. Wow. 24 hours. That's almost a day. A much smaller site made up of just 96 parking spaces is being created just outside of Dover to allow officials to inspect trucks when additional agri-food checks come into force in July. Extra checks. You know, the checks that Bodger promised us wouldn't exist. The Road Haulage Association fears it won't be enough to ease the congestion around Dover in the months ahead. Mr Mackenzie, out of the Road Haulage Association, said it would take the best part of a year to create a major new site. Yeah, if only we'd had some sort of warning that Brexit was coming, you know, a couple of years ago. If only somebody had said something, you know, made a plan. But it just hit us out of the blue. I mean, seriously, is anything not a surprise to this administration? The haulage policy chief said, the struggle to retain drivers is made more difficult by the shortage of infrastructure, the shortage of spaces to park, spaces to wash, spaces to go to the loo. We're just asking for decent facilities of the type found in Europe, he said. In Europe. A magical land where you don't have to poop in a bag or pee in a lemonade bottle. It must be beautiful. A government spokesmodel said we're spending £32.5 million to improve lorry parking facilities and are working on other numbers which will just reel off to fill the air with noise because that's better than admitting that everything we promised would be gold is turning out to be...
disgusting.
Exactly. They'll just give us a boatload of numbers.
86%, 5 million, and of course, over 50%. And what I'm saying is...
Yes.
You know, an additional 162 million. And that comes, by the way, on top of the 500 million.
On top of?
36 billion, of which 5.4 billion, and probably one of the biggest of 500,000 of over 16,000. Massive, 500,000.
Massive, absolutely. Whatever that bloke just said, just fills the air with noise.